The roar of the sea is there. The mountains have become more silent because they have been stripped of greenery. And the university is not really neither silent nor roaring. University is in slumber. That's a different thing. Let me not say it more loudly because it's off the record. Now, this is what Rajmanar was such a fine scholar. Suddenly he digressed into Telugu. Itu చక్కటి మాట అన్నాడండి నేను. తెలుగు వాళ్ళ గొప్ప సంగతి మాట్లాడుతూ తిక్కలేక తెలుగువాడు ఎటులోగును తిక్కలేనివాడు తెలుగువాడా అన్నాడు. అని తిక్కతనము లేక తెలుగుతనము లేదన్నాడు. అనేది అంత చప్పట్లు కొట్టారు. కొడితే సర్దుకున్నాడు ఆయన చక్కగా. బట్ దట్ తిక్క ఈజ్ యువర్ స్ట్రెంగ్త్. దట్ తిక్క ఈజ్ నెసెసరీ. తిక్కుంటేనే మీరు బాగా పనిచేయగలరు, తిక్కుంటేనే ప్రొటెస్ట్ చేయగలరు. బట్ బిహైండ్ దిస్ దెర్ ఈస్ ఎ ప్రొఫౌండ్ ఫిలసాఫికల్ truth that Rajmanar was conveying. That philosophical truth, I was amazed, excited, and thrilled to read from William Jackson's biography of Tyagaraja. What a beautiful work it is. An American coming and staying for 6-7 years, learning Telugu, learning Tamil, and reading all the kritis, and calling the kritis of Tyagaraja enchanting goddesses. Goddesses of enchanting beauty, he said. Every word is a superlative. And an American would not use such superlatives unless he felt that there was something really extraordinary. That is why Radhakrishnan said, profound philosophical truths. Then he said, look at the beauty of Telugu literature, devotional literature. He says, I am quoting him, in the history of devotional literature of Telugus, there are only 3 kings, Potarazu, Goparazu, Tyagaraja. The rest are robber kings, rust kings, and insect kings. తెలుగులో చెప్పాలంటే నిజమైన రాజులు బొమ్మెర పోతరాజు, కంచర్ల గోపరాజు, త్యాగరాజు. మిగతా రాజులు క్రిమిరాజులు, తుప్పురాజులు, దొంగరాజులు. The rest are robber kings, rust kings, and insect kings. అలాగా డిస్మిస్ చేసి పరిచాడు. అంటే devotional literature. Why? Because they did not want to compromise and subordinate their wisdom, their work, their scholarship at the altar of political power. In a way, when you look at this, even the rise of leftist movements in Andhra, I personally feel it is typical of Andhra spirit of revolt, rebellious spirit. I always say that, especially among the Telugus, the freedom movement, the ideas of freedom were not only articulated by Mahatma Gandhi, and the message was carried into every part of the country, but also very powerfully conveyed by the communists of those times. There is no doubt about it. The privilege of seeing in flesh and blood, I once told you, I was really shocked. I felt ashamed of myself. I was a university reader or professor, I don't know what I was. So I was traveling in the train, second class sleeper compartment. I just went and pulled out a book. కొంచెం స్టైల్గా పుస్తకం తీసి బట్టలు వేసుకున్నారు. పుస్తకం ఓపెన్ చేసి చదువుతుంటే నా పక్కన ఒక నెక్కర్ వేసుకుని చొక్కా వేసుకుని పుస్తకం చదువుతున్నాడు. సరే 2-3 వచ్చి నమస్కారం పెట్టి వెళ్ళిపోతున్నారు. నాకు కొంచెం ఏంటి అనుమానం వచ్చింది, ఎవర్రా బాబు ఆయన పుచ్చలపల్లి సుందరయ్య గారు అన్నాడు. వెంటనే ఆ సీట్ వదిలేసి వెళ్ళిపోయాను. Because what was I before Mr. Sundaraya? What is his book? I was asked to review for Indian Express. I said, the Marxist Mahatma. When they were the people who conveyed the message, the spirit of revolt. Now, therefore, I digress. Please remember, this is where the devotional culture of Andhra also has been referred to. Culture, therefore, is influenced by literature, language, geography, and things like this. Radhakrishnan Bertrand Russell said, India is a rainbow bridge between the wisdom of the East and the knowledge of the West. Radhakrishnan said, the wisdom of the East and the knowledge of the West. Bertrand Russell was more emphatic. He said, the disabling weakness of modern Western civilization is the disparity between mechanical power and social wisdom. The disabling weakness of Western civilization is the disparity between mechanical power and social wisdom. It is social wisdom of the East that we have to imbibe. Now, let me get back to our friend Amartya Sen, talking about the culture. Look at the way he takes a different route altogether, the study of Indian culture. He says, I'm quoting him, reason enough to celebrate our cultural heritage. How does he view it? Nagarjuna's penetrating philosophical arguments. Our own Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna University is awaiting a vice chancellor like Andhra University. Nagarjuna, our own Nagarjuna's penetrating philosophical arguments, Harsha's philanthropic leadership, Maitreyi's or Gargi's, both women, searching questions, Charavaka's reasoned skepticism, Aryabhatta's astronomical and mathematical departures, Kalidasa's dazzling poetry, Sudraka's subversive drama, Abul Fazl's astonishing scholarship, Shah Jahan's aesthetic vision, Ramanujan's mathematics, or Ravi Shankar or Ali Akbar Khan's music, without first having to check the religious background of each, let us feel proud of this tradition. This is Amartya Sen's. Now, this is the mosaic. The cultural mosaic is so fascinating, so inspiring. That is why, just look at these two lines. It was Ghulam Ali Khan who said, I remember very well, having read three very famous lines. Bade Ghulam Ali Khan who said that if only every home one classical note is sung every day, musical note, there will be no communal disharmony in India, he said. Bade Ghulam Ali Khan. And Dil Muhammad, principal of Lahore College, at the time of partition, please remember, he said that the greatest work he read, one of the greatest works he read and he was influenced by was the Bhagavad Gita. Our own Dr. Abid Hussain, when India was fighting the war with Pakistan in 1965, he recited verses from the Gita. Now, therefore, this cultural mosaic, Amartya Sen says something unique which no country can boast of. Let me read out one more very interesting line. Despite the grave sobriety of Indian religious preoccupations, India is basically a religious country. Despite the sobriety of Indian religious preoccupations, it would not be erroneous to say that India is a country of fun and games. Look at the words. Country of fun and games, in which chess was probably invented, badminton originated, polo emerged, and ancient Kama Sutra told people how to have joy in sex. Look at the way he paints the canvas. So Amartya Sen, Dr. Vijay Kumar would be particularly happy, makes special reference to fine arts. There is a chapter in his book on Satyajit Ray. How music, how cinema. For instance, there is no a subject in Western universities, cinema and modern culture. That's a subject, it's a paper, it's a course, cinema and modern culture. Now, therefore, he says these are the very important aspects of Indian culture civilization. Now, then we come to the other part of it. Now, therefore, when we talk about this, I am coming to the challenges before culture in the 21st century. And after 5-10 minutes, the first part of it, I shall close. I shall come to the second part of it in my second lecture. I am only referring to culture part of it. Development will be taken up later. How development is conditioned by culture. In 1964, I was privileged to attend a lecture by Salke Padover, whose book, The Genius of America, was a bestseller. That man came to Madras. And thanks to the American Center, USIS, we were all invited to the seminar, one from the Andhra University, and I happened to go there. My joy was twofold. I heard Padover, and a very brilliant man. And I had the privilege of meeting one of the most famous political scientists the country produced, a guru of Rajni Kothari, Professor Bhaskaran. It was a feast for the mind. Salke Padover's book, The Genius of America. He said the philosophy of America is to have no philosophy. That's the burden of the book. And there he used a word which really fascinated me. The Americans always were very proud of the term commingling of cultures. What is this commingling of cultures? Cultures come together. A synthesis of cultures. And this commingling of cultures, according to Padover, was America's contribution to modern world. Because, esteemed friends, you know very well, there is nothing like America except for what happened after 1776. That is why Nehru had so much of what you call supercilious attitude towards the United States. He was very supercilious in displaying his attitude towards the United States. Therefore, please remember, so many people went from Europe, from different parts of Europe. And I also once mentioned, in 5 minutes I shall sign off. I also mentioned the famous joke that in 1628, a number of thieves were put on board a ship and they were set afloat in the Atlantic, and they all ended up in America. And finally they settled there. Once they settled there, survival, the very important thing. And this survival, for that, they became hewers of wood and drawers of water, as the metaphor goes. Nillu todukodam, chakka narakadam, kalapa narakadam, illu kattukodam. Hewers of wood and drawers of water they became. And they built a culture, a civilization, and things like this. Now this commingling of cultures, by that we mean, when all these thieves went there, their descendants, etc., etc., they settled in America, and finally 13 independent colonies became a country, 13 became 48, 48 became 50, that is the United States of America. And there is an apocryphal story. It is an apocryphal story, it's not a real story. Apocryphal story is that it was just apocryphal. For fun only it was concocted. So when the British monarch went to America, the president greeted the British monarch, and the monarch very haughtily, very proudly said, "Oh, this is the country of thieves," isn't it? And so the American president shot back saying, "But where from did they come? They came from your country, isn't it?" Now, that kind of commingling of cultures, all Americans, you know very well, are hyphenated Americans. Greek Americans, Polish Americans, Japanese Americans, Spanish Americans, African Americans, Asian Americans. Now they are also calling Indian Americans. It was Asian Americans earlier. Now they are calling Indian Americans because Indians constitute a substantial part of America. There's a joke in Andhra University. We used to say Apparao, somebody will turn his head around. Today in America, say any part of America, there are so many Telugus scattered all over America. Now, when these hyphenated Americans, they built a culture. That culture transcended sectarian identities and loyalties. This is a beautiful culture. Now, on that culture, books were written. I think you have heard about Moynihan's book, The Melting Pot. Moynihan was ambassador to India, very famous man, one of the finest minds. The Melting Pot. A melting pot is just like the beautiful gift that the Tamilians have given us, the sambar. Put anything into that, it is taken in. Therefore, the melting pot, whatever you throw inside, it is taken, the melting pot. Now, after some time, people said, no, it's not the melting pot today, because just as we have caste and regional tensions in India, they have ethnic differences in America. There is a society for the Arabs, there is a society for the Africans, there is a society for etc., etc. ethnic rivalries are there in America. Therefore, it's no longer a melting pot. It is a salad bowl. A salad bowl is a huge pot in which each item retains its identity. It doesn't become something like a sambar, something like a melting pot. Each item retains its identity, salad bowl. So the Americans said ours is a salad bowl culture, etc. One Indian, it seems, very proudly said, ours is a bouquet culture. Bouquet culture means there are so many colors, so many flowers, they coexist and things like this. That is why this is a kind of a culture that Amartya Sen very rightly says that this commingling of cultures existed before the British came to India. It's not the gift of the British. That is why I ventured to tell my American friends that this commingling of cultures of which you are very proud is known to India for thousands of years. The Aryans came, the Europeans came, the Muslims came, the Mughals came, the Europeans came. And whoever came to India, we welcome them. Today, for instance, people keep coming. As I jocularly say, the Bangladeshi refugee comes into India. The Sri Lankan Tamil comes into India. The Pakistani terrorist comes into India. The Nepali drug peddler comes into India. Everybody has a right to come and live in India and do whatever he wants to do. This kind of thing has been there, known to us for centuries. Now, the 21st century challenges for culture, and I shall sign off. Recently, a book, I didn't get the book as such, but I got some excerpts from it. The book is called Shallows. The culture is severely challenged today by many things. Could be globalization, could be technology, could be consumerism, could be the accumulation of wealth. It is challenged very severely. And the younger generation really face a challenge, especially the younger generation. In his book, The Shallows, this man says, what the internet is doing, I'm quoting, what the internet is doing to our brains, says Nicholas Carr, technology is changing the way our brains operate. Our minds should operate as high-speed data processing machines. Knowledge has moved from Platonic realm of reason, experience and perception to a commodity or data that can be applied. The author raises a question, am I a man or a machine? Is it artificial intelligence or is it artificial humanity? All that we are gathering is surface level information. I had occasion to quote in one of the recent meetings, we published it in a bulletin also. The Economist of last month carried a very interesting piece in which it said, the biggest challenge today confronting the younger generation is information overload. Youth are suffering from information asphyxiation. And normally we have IAS, IPS, IRS, etc., etc. The brilliant people who get into civil service. The new acronym is IFS. I thought IFS means Indian Foreign Service. But IFS stands for Information Fatigue Syndrome. So people are today, by the time you come back home, you're tired, you're exhausted. Information Fatigue Syndrome, IFS. This fellow is IFS. That means he's tired of information. People do not know what to take and what not to take. This is a tremendous challenge. I'm repeating again, this I said several times for the benefit of just one or two. I said it several times. This I picked up from somewhere. I'm a postman gathering information and passing it on to those whom I come across. Because I say it often that the next lecture I'll refer to that. If AIDS is often referred to as the most dangerous challenge, some people say more dangerous than AIDS is IADS, Information Addiction Disorder Syndrome. This is supposed to be more dangerous than AIDS. Therefore, we're getting enslaved by the power of technology. This is number one. The second important thing, Larry Brooks has written a very interesting article in which he says, the economics of happiness exposes our worst traits as human beings. The economics of happiness, in pursuit of happiness. What is it? The idiocy of acquisition. Idiocy. Acquire more than your neighbor does. Acquire. The idiocy of acquisition. The tyranny of choice. Choice making. It's a kind of a tyranny. And the blindness of privilege. You're judging yourself by the accumulated wealth, by the positions you occupy. In Britain, a Labour Party leader launched a movement. It is called Movement for Happiness 4 years ago. Movement for Happiness. I also mentioned to some of you that today GNP, GDP, etc., there is a new parameter by which it is evaluated. It is called GNH, Gross National Happiness. On that scale, Bhutan is higher than India and Pakistan. Not only higher than India and Pakistan, Bhutan is ranked 13, higher than most of the advanced countries of the world. Gross national happiness. New parameters are there. Now, therefore, the challenge today, according to globalization, according to one expert, globalization has competing with everyone from everywhere for everything. This is the essence of globalization. Competing with everyone from everywhere for everything. And competition, as Peter Drucker said, is ruthless. It brings out the worst in man and the best in product. So, esteemed friends, distinguished invitees, and distinguished members present here, the first part of it is there is a challenge to culture. There is a challenge to our values. There is a challenge to our ideas. Coming from acquisition of wealth, coming from technology, but as you know very well, all human beings are capable of transcending these things. Amartya Sen says ultimately, it is only by reasoning, only by debate. Forget about what happened in Parliament yesterday. Maybe it is defeat for all political parties. Maybe it is something. But one good thing that I found out yesterday, I felt, was that people spoke for so long. Even if it is trash, they upheld the parliamentary practice. Nothing came out of it, that's a different thing. Very disappointing, we accept that. But the debate part of it, that is where India is different from the other countries. That is where Amartya Sen places India above China. That is where United States has to necessarily depend upon India. Thank you very much. Two announcements. On 5th of January, New Year, wishing you all Happy New Year. I have limited myself to exactly 1 hour. As I said earlier, it should not be an infliction. It's only a kind of sharing of my ideas. January 5th, we have a meeting in the public library where Professor Tummala Krishna Kumar will speak on, the invitations will be given here. It's greener on the other side. It is a comparison of American and Indian political systems at the public library. On the 9th of January, in the same hall, I have requested and he has graciously agreed, my friend Sri Rangarajan will speak on the latest researches in Naval Science Technology, Director of NSTL. This will be under the auspices of the National Maritime Foundation, Visakhapatnam Regional Chapter. You are all cordially invited to attend. I thank you for your gracious presence. I thank you for listening to me for 1 hour, your precious time, and wishing you all once again a very happy New Year. Thank you.